Hi, today I will explain how flight or fight reflex is very much related to breathing habits and how it happens during unbalanced breathing and how it happens when our breathing habits are getting triggered. But before that, I want to first start with what breathing habits mean. Our body learns physiological habits. Physiological habits are programmable, and our body learns physiological habits usually unconsciously. So without even us noticing that we have a breathing habit, we learn breathing habits. And some of these breathing habits, some might be good, some of these breathing habits might be very bad for us, and there are more than 200 breathing related symptoms people experience. Millions of people right now in the world are experiencing symptoms of dysfunctional breathing habits. Millions of people have dysfunctional wrong breathing habits that is getting triggered during the day when you're on a bus, on a plane, walking, doing sports. Anything can be triggered, and without even you recognizing, your body actually starts breathing fast, breathing shallow, breathing slow, breathing deep from the diaphragm, or whatever you're doing that your body physiology doesn't need due to your breathing habit. It keeps you in an alkaline or to acidic space where you get into a flight or fight reflex. The flight or fight reflex is actually a chemical reaction in the body. I'm going to say it again. The flight or fight reflex is actually a chemical reaction. You react to your body's body fluid pH. Body fluid pH changes. Your body goes into alkaline, which is a shock, or your body goes into acidic, which is another shock. That's why you experience flight or fight reflex. So when you look at breathing, as a breathing expert, when you look at the behavior around that breathing habit, when you look at what's happening in your breathing and what's happening in your body fluid chemistry, I'm going to explain it not in a deeper scientific way, but in a more basic way that everybody and anybody can understand. So first of all, from our childhood on, without even us recognizing that, our body learns behavioral habits and our body learns breathing habits. Behavioral habits, all behavioral habits, like tics people have, people do like this and you tell them don't do it and they say, I'm not doing it, my physiology is doing it. Or, for example, the way I talk, the way I move my eyes when I talk, or the way I move my mouth when I talk, or the way I eat, or the way I walk, or the way you walk, or the way you sit, or whatever you're doing automatically, that is a physiological habit. Maybe it is easier to understand physiological habits when we think physiology and ourselves are different, because our physiology and ourselves work differently. Like our mind, who I am, is another thing, and my physiology is another thing. Physiology operates by itself. Physiology learns habits by itself. Like the insulin release in your body, due to the timing you eat, if you eat at the same time every day, your body learns that and builds a physiological level. It gets physiological habit. It gets ready even before you start eating food. If you eat at 12 o'clock every day, 5 to 12, your body starts releasing insulin, and that's why you get hungry almost at the same time every day, because your body learns physiological habits. It builds physiological habits. Some of these habits are necessary and very healthy. Some of these habits are unnecessary, unhealthy. And when you look at breathing habits, the breathing habits we learn, most of these breathing habits we learn are due to some emotional shifts, due to an experience in our childhood many people call trauma. As you know, traumas, what we call traumas, can be big or small traumas. Like imagine somebody died in the family and there's a lot of tears and sadness and a lot of sorrow. And as a child, it is too much for you. It is too much for your heart. It's too much for your system. What you do is, for you not to feel that pain and not to feel that sorrow, you change your breathing habits. You stop the breathing, because the way to disconnect from ourselves is through disconnecting from our breath. Breath is the path, is the bridge to our soul. Breath is the bridge to our authentic self. That's why there are many people who are not authentic. That's why there are many people who feel lost, and that's why there are many people who don't know what they're doing, or who don't know what their mission is, or what their life purpose is. And that's why so many people are trying hard to find their purpose and who they are right now, because they have dysfunctional breathing habits that did disconnect them from who they are, from their emotions, from how they feel, from how what's happening in the inside rather than on the outside. And that's how we learn breathing habits. So the psychological level, it's like disconnecting with yourself. Of course, dysfunctional breathing habits lead us to, feeling lost, feeling disconnected, not having a purpose, not having that connection. But beside that, what I'm going to be speaking today is on the physiological side, because the physiological side gets affected quicker, and that leads us to flight or fight reflex. So we have breathing habits that are behavioral habits, and like all behavioral habits, they are learned unconsciously, and they get triggered during situations, and we don't even know how that they get triggered. It might be during your taking a test. Breathing habits might get triggered when you're taking a test, when you're getting intimate with someone, when you meet a group of people, when you are socializing, when you're speaking on stage, when you are reading a book, or when you're resting, or when you're on a bus, or when you're traveling. It can get triggered from anything, anytime, and we don't even recognize that our breathing changes, but we do experience the symptoms. So we all learn breathing habits. They are behavioral habits. They are learned unconsciously by our physiology, and like all behavioral habits, they get triggered without even us recognizing. And the moment they get triggered, because how we breathe affects our respiratory chemistry, the respiratory chemistry that manipulates and that governs the body fluid chemistry changes. Every time my breathing habit gets triggered, my respiratory chemistry changes, and due to that, my whole body fluid chemistry changes. So I either go into too much alkaline, which is called in respiratory science hypocapnia, a high level of carbon dioxide, a low level of carbon dioxide, or I get into a symptom called hypercapnia, which is high level of carbon dioxide. The low level of carbon dioxide is called hypocapnia. The high level of carbon dioxide is called hypercapnia, and the low level of carbon dioxide leads our body fluid pH to alkaline, which is a huge shock. And the scientifically proven and well-known symptoms of hypocapnia, you can research on that and do research on that, are anxiety, panic attack, fear, stress, depression, fear, anger, and hyperactivity, and ADD, ADHD, attention deficit problems, mainly the flight or fight reflex people are referring to. So the flight or reflex is actually a breathing habit that's getting triggered. I'm going to say it again. A flight or fight reflex is actually a breathing habit that is getting triggered and leading our body into a chemical shock. So when we are too alkaline, when the body goes too alkaline, we get into this shock of and our body starts pumping faster, and we start sweating, we start trembling, we can't breathe, and we can't breathe, and we're kind of like hyperactive, and there is this restless state, which is the flight or fight reflex, which can balance, which can be healed or eased by regular breath work and by breath analysis. So if you're experiencing flight or fight reflex during the day, first of all, know that that is your breathing habit getting triggered unconsciously. If you want to learn about your breathing habit, if you want to analyze your breathing and check what you're doing in your breathing and check what kind of dysfunctional breathing habits you have and heal those breathing habits so that you don't experience fight or flight reflex anymore, download Breath Hub right now, which is the most advanced breathing app in the world right now, which is created by world-renowned experts with a great team. It has great content, more than 800 sessions, and there is also a breathing analysis part in that app. There is also a breathing analysis algorithm which asks you some questions, and after you answer those questions, lead you into a customized journey. So we lead you In Breath Hub app, we lead you into a customized journey. We ask you some questions so that we can learn more about the dysfunctional breathing habits you have, how and when your breathing habits are getting triggered, so that you can work on your breathing, your specific breathing habit, and you can change that dysfunctional breathing habit. In the end, what's going to happen is you will not experience any kind of flight or fight reflex when we heal that breathing habit, because that breathing habit can be changed. Maybe the word healing is not the best word, because it's actually changing the breathing habit. So we are going to be changing that breathing habit. We are going to lead you into by daily practice. You only need 3 to 5 minutes of breath work, active breath work exercises specifically for you, specifically combined for you, a breathwork journey specifically created for you. Just a few minutes of breathwork, active breathwork every day, and in a while you will change your breathing habit. You will have a more functional breathing habit. You will be able to breathe healthy along the way, and due to that you will be much more healthier physically, psychologically, emotionally. See you in my next video.